Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive data dump directly from the White House. We're going to cut right through the political noise and look closely at the actual documents and press releases they just put out. The goal here? To impartially figure out the administration's stated goals and, more importantly, uncover the real-world effects these policies are actually going to have on everyday Americans. Let's get right into it.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at economy and wealth initiatives, permitting and federal contracts, public lands management, diplomacy and VR education, and finally, administration rhetoric and security.
Section 1, Economy and Wealth Initiatives.
So, starting off with the economy, the administration is putting a huge emphasis on individualized private investment vehicles rather than broad social safety nets. They've rolled out TrumpIRA.gov, which is designed to give 401k investors access to alternative assets. They're also proposing what they call Trump accounts to jumpstart savings for newborns. It's a fundamental shift, really. The underlying philosophy here is all about using personal, privatized accounts to build wealth, rather than relying on systemic public support. And looking at the immediate financial impact, the White House claims millions have already taken advantage of their no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security initiative. According to their fact sheet, average deductions are ranging anywhere from $3,100 to over $7,500. The stated goal is to put more take-home pay directly into the pockets of specific service and wage workers. Now, zooming out to corporate and regulatory policy, the administration is heavily touting a massive number, $212 billion. They claim their deregulatory agenda, cutting red tape across the board, saved Americans this collective amount in 2025 alone. That's a staggering figure, right? But let's break down what that actually means for you. They translate that $212 billion into roughly $2,500 in savings for every family of four. But, and this is absolutely crucial to understand, deregulation primarily reduces operational costs for large businesses. The administration is taking those total systemic corporate savings and simply dividing them by the U.S. population. So that $2,500, it's not guaranteed cash in hand that you're going to see in your bank account. It's a macroeconomic calculation. To back up their narrative of an economic boom, they're pointing to some genuinely historic metrics. Jobless claims plunging to their lowest since 1969, rent growth slowing down, consumer confidence spiking, and personal income beating expectations. It paints a very rosy picture. But it's worth noting that while these macro indicators look great on paper, they are presented against a backdrop of lingering inflation. So the big question remains, are regular consumers actually feeling this boom at the grocery store checkout line?
Section 2, Permitting and Federal Contracts.
Moving on to government operations. The White House Council on Environmental Quality is pushing incredibly hard to modernize and, more importantly, speed up the federal permitting process. They're actively hunting for up to 50 private sector technology solutions by July 2026. This is a very clear, aggressive move to fast-track industrial and infrastructure projects by essentially bulldozing bureaucratic friction.
At the same time, an April 2026 executive order is completely restructuring how federal procurement works. The new mandate? Prioritize cost-effectiveness and defense, specifically focusing on military readiness, while explicitly eliminating all diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, considerations from federal contractor requirements. It's a massive ideological shift in how the government awards its contracts.
Section 3, Public Lands Management. Next up is a monumental shift in environmental policy. The administration recently signed Congressional Bill H.J. Res. 140. Make no mistake, this is a massive reversal. It completely voids a 2023 Bureau of Land Management order. That previous order had specifically protected certain national forest lands in Minnesota from being mined for 20 years. Well, those protections are now officially gone. When you look at the official White House briefing statement, you realize the sheer scale of this action. We are not talking about a minor regulatory tweak here. This single stroke of the pen officially opens up 225,504 acres of land in Cook, Lake, and St. Louis counties to mineral and geothermal leasing. It's a definitive pivot. The administration is heavily prioritizing industrial extraction and corporate development over ecological conservation, reversing protections on hundreds of thousands of acres of public land.
Section 4, Diplomacy and VR Education. Shifting gears entirely, let's look at education. The First Lady recently stated, "Our children don't need to board airplanes to experience history anymore. Kids can have an educational experience that is fundamentally richer and more memorable than ever before through VR and AI."
Now, what's really interesting here is the administration's focus. We could be discussing broad investments in public education funding or ensuring a living minimum wage for teachers, but instead the focus is squarely on bespoke, high-tech virtual reality experiences for a select group.
Just look at how this played out during the recent UK state visit. American students and Queen Camilla literally sat in the White House tennis pavilion wearing MetaQuest headsets to virtually visit places like Stonehenge and Buckingham Palace. It's certainly a futuristic photo op.
They also used Meta AI glasses to view historical artifacts, like a portrait of President John Adams and a bronze bust of Winston Churchill. The crucial takeaway here is how heavily the administration is promoting private tech partnerships, specifically positioning Meta's products as the ultimate future of cultural exchange and education.
Section 5, Administration Rhetoric and Security. Finally, we need to talk about the administration's political messaging, which has become incredibly charged. The White House actually released a formal document directly attributing what they call a third assassination attempt to unhinged rhetoric from Democrats. The document specifically catalogs lawmakers who use words like fascist and dictator to describe the president. This is a highly unusual strategy, utilizing official government channels to directly blame political opposition for acts of violence.
Furthermore, the rhetoric extends to major television appearances. In a recent 60 Minutes interview, the president flat out claimed that the Southern Poverty Law Center financed the KKK and funded the Charlottesville rally just to make him look bad. Now, we have to fact-check this. These claims directly contradict established historical records, court cases, and multiple independent investigations of those events. There is simply no factual evidence to support that assertion.
But by pushing these specific, unverified narratives in official releases and primetime interviews, the administration is intentionally using a highly combative communication style. It's a calculated move to challenge critics head-on and firmly control the national narrative around domestic security and political opposition.
So what does this all mean? As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to look past the political theater and focus on the real-world effects of the data we just walked through. We are seeing a massive push to open protected lands to mining, a pivot toward privatized wealth building over public safety nets, and highly promoted corporate tech partnerships in our education system. I'll leave you with this question. As these sweeping policies take root, are they truly creating widespread prosperity for the everyday American, or are they quietly consolidating wealth and resources for the few? Thanks so much for joining me, and always keep questioning what you read.